2003 Smart Cabriolet for £250 with the intention of fixing it up and putting it back on the road. I promise my channel won't always be about small cars, it's just so happens to be my latest purchase and I have got something else in the works. So this is a 2003 450 model, so it's a few years before they pulled out the 4.2 and has the original 0.6 litre 3-cylinder turbocharged engine. I love the Smart brand, I love the original cars that they did, the Roadster, which I've had one, the original 4.4 which is based on the Colt, and the crazy Crossblade which was actually based on this Cabriolet model. So why do I love Smart and the original Smart car? Well, there's few moments in automotive history where a car is completed from a blank piece of paper to a very specific brief. In this case it was to produce a car 2.5 metres long that could be parked in a parking bay perpendicularly. And all the engineering of the car has been done to deliver that, and to deliver modern crashworthiness standards of a car, not a quadricycle, so it had to meet all the same requirements. It also delivers sort of a premium experience, and I think all the cost and investment Daimler put into the car they've never really recovered throughout the whole duration of the Smart brand. So before I take you for a tour around the car and all of its cool features, I'll just give you a bit of information on what's making it so well. I'll just give it a start. As you can probably hear, it's running pretty poorly. It's got a misfire on cylinder 3, and if I need to do a compression test, but if my suspicions are correct, it has the burnt valve issue which is associated with this 0.6 litre engine. That is where the exhaust valve degrades and the combustion mix gets past the closed exhaust valve and hence losing compression in that cylinder. It will require a full engine rebuild. This car's done 68,000 miles. It's not really unheard of at this sort of mileage, and it'll be a good project for me to do. As you can probably also see, the roof is a bit broken. It has got splits in the rear windows, there's a few tears in the actual material, but the big issue is actually she's come off the runners and the clips. It does actually work, it does retract, so electronically it's fine, but it will need a replacement and refitting properly. In addition to that, there is corrosion along the trailing safety cell that needs tidying up to make it look smarter, and I'm also going to take advantage of one of the unique selling points of the Smart car, these plastic bonnet panels. It was a great idea by Smart to try and reduce insurance costs. They crack easily, but they're easy to replace, and they're also very light. But not just that, you can change the colour of the entire car, and that's what I plan on doing. I plan on putting panels of a darker hue on the car because I think it contrasts much better with this optional silver Trillium cell, this Pulse mid-range model. I'm going to go for a jet black or a bay grey. The panels themselves are a bit marked, so I think it'll make the car look a lot better as well. On the V5 it's actually down as silver, which is the Trillium safety cell, so there's no implications of changing the colour of the car. It was a great idea by Smart. It was a great way of offering a customisation option. How many cars can you change the colour of after you bought it, or when you buy the car second hand? So brilliant idea. Okay, so enough doom and gloom. Let me talk about the car itself. So as I mentioned, this is a 0.6 litre turbocharged engine located in the back alongside a automated manual transmission. My car's the soft tip, which means that it won't change gear for you. It'll tell you when to change gear, and it's done electronically by you moving the lever, but it won't change gear automatically. You need the soft touch version. I don't understand why that is the case. Maybe they're trying to give a cost option. I mean, it can tell you when to change gear, so it has the algorithm, and it's changing gear electronically through wires, so I don't know why it doesn't do it automatically, but I guess it's to try and give customers an extra option and try and recoup some more costs. We shouldn't underappreciate that. This car was launched in Europe in 1999, and automatic transmissions of any sort in A segment cars and even B segment cars was pretty much unheard of or very rare. So for a car to come along with its only option, an automatic transmission, is pretty impressive. This is a 6-speed box as well, and there's no mechanical linkage, so it means that you can package the transmission where you need it to, and you don't have to worry about the use of the shift cables, you don't have to worry about the space for a clutch pedal, which means you can have a narrower footwell. It also means you'd have to package a master cylinder on the bulkhead, which means you can have a smaller front end, and also have a really slim centre console, because you don't need the sweep for an actual shift lever. And not having a clutch pedal there really helps with things like safety, because you don't have something else causing injury on your feet. And this car's approach to safety is amazing. So you've got that factor, but you've also got things like it met legal requirements. But back in the early noughties, when it was tested by Euro NCAP, this delivered 3-star Euro NCAP, which doesn't sound like much today, but back then that was the same as cars with class above, such as the Corsa and the Fiesta, and that's all delivered without a crumple zone. Look how short the front end is. The way they've done this is to create this incredibly stiff cage around the occupant, which is called the Trillion safety cell, and it was a key feature of Smart, and they've obviously tried to highlight it with this contrasting colour. It's a brilliant idea, but making a car really stiff then affects your occupant, and there's acceleration that they experience, and that can cause internal problems. So what they've done is fitted things like a collapsible steering column that moves with you as you're in an impact, and potentially is on the seatbelt. All features that are commonplace on cars nowadays to try and deliver the highest safety standards. But back then, these were new technologies, these were expensive technologies, and they've implemented these to deliver the best possible safety standards in a car this small. Really impressive, and refinement of this concept really did improve things, and the later models got higher Euro NCAP scores. Not just that, this car has an electronic stability program, which only became mandatory a few years ago. So that is amazing that they could afford to put this on this car, and I guess with its sort of stance, they're trying to ensure that it handles safely. Okay, so you're probably thinking, where have they put everything in a car this small? Well, I got down this tailgate. The roof bars that were removable go in here, which is very cleverly designed. But the engine and gearbox is actually located under the carpet, under the boot, and the car sort of sits on top of it. Technically, this is a mid-rear engine car, because the engine gearbox sit ahead of the rear axle. The air intake is in this sort of round disc here, which looks like the fuel cap. The fuel cap's actually on the other side, so it is symmetric. The battery itself is located under the piston footwell, under the carpet here. I won't get it out because it's a bit of a faff, because it has this sort of moulding on top of the compressor. But what's really clever is that the battery actually sits in the floor in its own little tub underneath where the feet would go. That's clever because during an impact it's protected, so you still have power, but also it doesn't interfere with the occupant's feet, so again enhancing the imagery performance of the passenger. And that's also facilitated by the staggered seating arrangement that I mentioned. So the driver has the pedals and the footwell, while the passenger has the battery and air compressor holder arrangement, and hence their seat is further back. The fuel tank sits ahead of the gearbox and the engine, and as you can see the car's pretty tall, so it sort of sits on top of all that stuff, but it is very clever. And the boot itself is actually pretty big, so you can get quite a bit under there, and you've got a sort of net here to store things, so it is pretty practical. Okay, so around the back it's actually quite different to the City Coupe. Instead of having the 3 separate lights that you would have on the original car, it has these sort of one-piece lenses, which I actually quite like the look of, and they never fitted to the City Coupe, and I guess this rear end had been redesigned to allow the roof to be there. So the roof electrically retracts to about this level, and then you can sort of drop it down to sit on the boot lid, as you can sort of do in a 500 convertible. The only difference is that the roof bars are removable, which means you get sort of a full convertible experience. There is actually a roll bar that sort of sits underneath here to sort of brace the car, but it's sort of behind and below your head, so you don't really notice it, and it doesn't really bother you. When I did get the car, the roof was initially sort of working, but it sort of degraded the more times I played with it, and it really does need sorting out. That sort of vertically positioned makes them very comfortable to reach at this particular height, and they're sort of shaped to fit your hand. So they're really quite comfortable to use. Really clever. You've probably spotted the Subaru Legacy sitting in the background. That is one of my other cars. That is actually a 3 litre Spec B. It is a bit tired. I am doing a bit of work on it to try and tidy it up and tighten it up so it feels a bit nicer to drive. I may or may not do a video on that, we'll see. Okay, so here we are inside my little Smart, and I absolutely love it in here. I love the sense of space you seem to have in this little tiny car, the funkiness and the clever little touches. So although the door's quite close to me, the windscreen's miles away, and you get all this space here, and you've got the boot just behind you, so the window still seems quite far away. And the legroom's pretty good as well, and although the roof's a bit knackered, so it looks like I haven't got much headroom, but that's just because it's just falling into the car. You've got a massive amount of space in front of the passenger, where you've got this offset seating position. The dash sort of follows where the two occupants sit. I guess that's to try and move the airbags closer to where each occupant is. You can hopefully sort of see that stagger. I think it's about 15 centimetres. I love these little dials. You've got like a little clock here and a rev counter that sprout out the dash. They've got these blue rings that go with the rest of the dash. You've got blue seats and blue door cards and this blue material on the dash, which is a really clever way of making it feel and look more premium, but doing it in a cheaper way. Adds a bit of colour and an interest. I really think that's clever. You've got these air vents that sprout up the dash as well, which are round and move around, and I love that. 2-spoke steering wheel. It's great, and you've got things like electric windows in here, CD player. You've got the electric roof, which the button's down here by the gear lever. Remote central locking, and the key goes in the centre like in a Saab. I guess that's to help again with package and maybe reduce costs for left and right and drive conversions. Really clever. There's only one control for the window on the driver's door. I guess that's because the passenger door is so close you can lower the passenger window from where you sat. It really is really nice in here. You've got the exposed tritium inside as well, so you get that sort of added colour inside the car. And yeah, you get these nice thin seats, which are actually metal backed. Really solid things. They're really quite thin. They're quite nicely sort of padded, quite comfortable. Base is a bit flat, but this passenger one actually folds down to give you more space. And there you go, you can see the metal back here, and you get this sort of shallow cup holder thing. I have no idea what you use that for. It just pops back like that. You get nets in the doors. You get a drawer here, I believe, below the CD player to put stuff. You've got this sort of modular stack here where you can put things like CD holders here. I've got like an ashtray that pops out. I've got a cup holder down here, so it's just a rubber ring really, but you put your cup through there and it rests on the floor and it holds it in place. But I guess it's a clever, cheap way of doing that. You've got sort of a space here as well, and you've got this lockable drawer under the driver's seat instead of having a glove box, because that's where the airbag is. So lots of sort of practical touches, really clever. I like the materials in here. I like the colour. It's sort of grey, it's hard plastic, but it's a cheap, affordable car. I don't feel like it's really basic and cheap. I think it feels quite nice in here. Yeah, I think it's a really nice design. Like I said, I've had a Roadster before. It's got a sort of similar feel to that. You sit very high, you sort of just step into the car, and the Roadster you sort of drop down into it. But it's, you know, nice and practical. I'm surprised by the sense of space. You feel like you're in a sort of capsule. Yeah, really nice car. Really cleverly designed. I think they've made the most of what they have available to them in terms of the cost restraints and the space restraints, of course. This handbrake is the longest handbrake I've ever seen. It's over a foot long. It's quite strange to operate, really. It pretty much goes back to behind where you're sitting, which is quite strange, but yeah. So hopefully there's definitely a lot to keep me busy over the next few weeks or months. We'll have to see how we get on, and I'll look to give a full review of what it's like on the road with a hopefully newly built engine and a working roof.